watching the Forefront Church video podcast. And wherever you're at viewing online, we just want to say thank you and welcome. And one of the ways that we can help connect with you is we want to hear from you and where you're at and how we can help. And so head over to forefrontchurch.info after the message and click the Connect tab. It's a great way for us to help you along your spiritual journey as you connect with God and learn about Jesus. And so sit back, relax. We hope that you're challenged and encouraged from today's message. Good morning, 10 a.m. How's everybody doing today? Wow, rowdy, and I like it. I like it a lot. Welcome everybody that's watching online. Welcome them as they're like, yeah, we'll get. There's some people that are looking around like, why aren't they here? We have people that tune in from other parts of the country, people that are working. They have they have hospital jobs, so they'll tune in when they're not able to, when they go with patients and do whatever. And so I'm super thankful for you guys that are tuning in. If you're local and you've never been with us, you should come hang out with us. There's like half these guys that look good. And so you should, and now everybody's like, which one am I in? Man, I'm thankful for you guys. We continue our series, I Love the 90's. And I love that I get to do this job. And when I took on this job, being in the lead pastor role, I made a commitment. I was like, man, we're going to help train our staff. Most jobs, they send them away to conferences and they're able to do things to learn and get better. And so I was like, man, there's this great conference down in Atlanta called the Catalyst Conference, and we're going to take our staff down there. And it's ranged, anywhere from like 8,000 to sometimes upwards of like 12,000 leaders and pastors from all over the country, and they'll sing together and learn together, be encouraged. So we head down there to Atlanta, Georgia, and it's at that time on staff, it was very much a guy's club. It was a bunch of dudes, and then there was Becky Bruner, our family ministries director, that just was like there having to hang out with a bunch of guys. And she does a phenomenal job in our family ministry, and I feel bad for her that she has to I loathe that experience, that she's like, got to hang around all these dumb guys and everything, and we're doing our thing, but she kind of planned our trip down there and the things that we would do. And so we're going to the Coca-Cola Museum, which if you've never been there, you should go and try all the awful Cokes and things there. You're like, there's no such thing as awful Coke. Try some of the drinks there. They're gross. There's a drink called the Beverly that will make you never want to drink any soft drink again. And so we go there, we're doing that, we're having a lot of fun. Then we go over to the aquarium, which is right across Centennial Park, and so we're having a blast. All the while, we knew we wanted to go to dinner, and Becky was planning this dinner for us as a staff. So we're like, the whole time I'm kind of asking her, hey, Becky, where are we going for dinner? She's like, oh, we're going someplace great. It'll be great. It'll be good. She'll never tell us the name of the place. She never tells us what kind of food it is. And so like after a while, I start to begin to become suspect. And so I'm like, Becky, I really want to know where we're going. So we're walking through the aquarium. I'm like, hey, Becky, so where are we going to eat? Oh, you'll see. No, I don't want to see. I want to know right now. Because I'm the type of person that needs to have all my ducks in a row. I want to Google what the place is, look it up on Yelp, see what the menu items are. I want to have a game plan going in. I mean business when I sit down to eat. And so she keeps dodging this question. I'm like, man. Finally, we're walking out, and I'm like, Becky, I need to know. Like, I kind of, in my own mind, I'm like laying down the hammer. I'm like, I need to know where we're going right now. And she starts giggling. She's like, and I'm like, no, this isn't funny. Like, I need to know what's going on. And all the other guys are starting to have the same thing. She's like, I don't want you to get too crazy when I say this, and anytime somebody says, I don't want you to be mad, or I don't want you to get crazy, prepare to get crazy. Prepare to get upset. And so she says to me, now, I picked this restaurant. It's a Gone with the Wind themed restaurant. All men hanging out with her, and she decides to pick a Gone with the Wind themed restaurant. So say, Becky, I'm already not feeling this, and she could see on my face I'm not playing. I'm like, what's the name of this restaurant? She starts saying, I'm like, this isn't funny. I need to know what's going on. Well, the name of the restaurant's called Aunt Pitty Pat's Porch. So a bunch of grown men are hanging out in downtown Atlanta, and they're about to go to a Gone with the Wind theme restaurant called Aunt Pitty Pat's Porch. Sounds super manly, really pumped on it. And so we show up to this restaurant. I mean, it is country as can be. It has a nice looking porch. I'm like, all right, and we walk in, kind of see this. It mightn't be too bad. There's like a stuffed, taxidermy. I'm like, all right, stuff's been killed here. We're good. Sorry, PETA people. But, and then we walk downstairs, and it's a little dark. And there's like medieval farming tools over on the side, and like everybody there, I'm not going to tell the median age because I'm sure someone's going to get mad at me, but they were older in age. And we were there, it's like everybody was showing up for their AARP, like early dinner discount. And I'm sizing it up, and I'm like, this isn't okay. I'm bitter, whatever. And then they sit down, I open up the menu, and I'm like, there's no way that they can make all these things well. It's like going to Golden Corral. You're not going to get, you will get everything at about a D-level satisfaction. That's the way to be. You can get a D-level steak and D-level cotton candy if you so choose, which is so weird. But we get there, and I'm like, there's no way they could do this well. We start ordering. I'm like, there's no way you can mess up chicken. I'll get fried chicken, get the sides. And they say, all right, you can enjoy the salad bar while you wait. And I go to the salad bar. I'm like, yeah, we're just going to go. And I get the salad bar. It's amazing. I mean, amazing. The skies are opening up. We are in the dingy basement, but it is opening up. Trumpets are sounding. Angels are singing. I get to the table. I'm like, this is great. And then the wait staff, you could start smelling the smells. I'm like, I had low expectations. He brings this plate of chicken. I'm not kidding you. It was like they had killed an entire chicken and brought these fried. I'm like, that's like a whole bucket of KFC. He says, sir, that's your portion. I'm like, I don't know if I can finish that. He said, not many people can. Like they're going on. And like it was almost like they were taunting us. The portions are huge, and I bite into that. And I mean, I have never been that close to Jesus during a meal in my life. It was amazing. If you're ever in the downtown Atlanta area, I know you may be suspect. You go, Aunt Pitty Pat's Porch. I'm telling you, do not stop, go. Do not collect $200. You go straight there and you eat. Be prepared to go into a food coma. It's so good it makes you want to smack your mom. I mean, it's good. It's good food. And I've expressed this to other people. I'm like, man, it feels like you're almost like you're calling that pretty high. Like you're almost like, well, I'm not worshiping that place, but it's good. And you may have had these experiences where you walk into it, whether it's a friendship, it's, with anything, you name it, a job, and you walk in with low expectations. You walk into the movie, you're like, oh, I don't want to go. And then you leave, you're like, wow, that was amazing. You walk in with low expectations. A friend's like, hey, let's go out to this place. And you show up, and you look around, you're like, no way, this is awful. And then you take a bite of that food and you're like, Lord, I'm sorry. Like you hit and it started low, but the expectation by the time you're like, man, that blew me away. And I think we've all had moments like that, where we walked in thinking there's no way this could ever be good in all sorts of different facets. And then we get into the experience and it's amazing. But I think more often than not, the tables are actually reversed. Especially when it comes to faith in the local church. We come in, and I meet people like this, and they come in, they're like, man, my life's in shambles, I want to meet God, and we have high expectations. I'm going to sit during the music, and it's going to overwhelm me, and I'm going to get to the message, and I'm going to give my life to Jesus, and everything's going to be fine, and hey, our marriage is all just disheveled, and we're going to go to church, and it's going to get all better. We have high expectations. I did this during student ministry years that I was in, about a decade of student ministry, and people would walk in with their middle school kids. They're like, my middle school kid's a wreck. I was like, yeah, they're in middle school. But they had never been to church before, and they would walk in and go, please help me, help my kid, fix my kid. And I would say, man, we want to do everything we can to help guide them to Jesus, but I want to let you know that if you're bringing them in right now, 12, 13 years old, that there's 12, 13 years of things that need to get peeled back, and that's going to take time. And usually, are you saying I'm a bad parent? No, I'm saying that life happens. And we have these high expectations that everything will happen suddenly. And then when they don't, we go, see, I had high expectations in marriage. I walked into it, and you stand at the altar, right? And you're looking at them, you're like, you're so cute. And they look at you, no, you're so cute. And you're standing there, and then you get into that first year, and you're making his or her, you get like the bride and groom coffee mugs, and you're waking up, you're like, ooh, is that coffee I smell? Yeah, boo, I made you some coffee. And you're doing all this stuff, and you're doing it, and then 5 months pass, a year pass, and then like all of a sudden, it is 1 year and 1 day, you wake up, and you're like, I don't smell coffee. They don't open my door anymore. Oh, they just threw their laundry there. They didn't even do the laundry. Oh, and what? All of a sudden, that honeymoon phase where do not nudge anybody right now. All right, you're hearing this. You're hearing this. All you about to be newlyweds, hear all of this. And what happens? We walk into it with high expectations, and then what? It doesn't deliver. We have all these things that we want. We have this about our parenting. We go, man, I'm going to go into parenting. My kid's going to be a genius. That's my 401k that I just gave birth to. And they're just going to raise, and they're going to pay for my house. And I just get to sit back and I get to watch them be awesome. And then they're not. Sorry, kids in the room. And this is what we have. We go into life, and especially with faith, with high expectations. And then when it doesn't deliver, we go, see, that's why I don't want to worship God. Why would I want to worship a God that doesn't deliver on what I want? And we've been in this series, I love the 90's, where we've been looking at these passages, going, all right, God, in Psalm 90 through 99, how can you guide me to what's true? How can you guide me to a place where I can honor you with every part of my being and help undo some things that maybe I thought of you that actually aren't true? Today we're going to be looking at building up a heartbeat and life of worship. Even when we have high expectations or low and they fall all over the place, can we still honor God with our lives? And if you have a Bible, I'd love for you to turn over to Psalm 92. It's in the Old Testament of the Bible. If you don't have a Bible, we give them away for free. You could stop by the Get Connected table in the lobby. It has that FLU, Forefront Life University banner. Make sure you get the L or things get weird. FLU. Don't leave that out, and then people get really offended. And so you stop by there, pick up a Bible. Some people are slowly getting it. And so you could stop by there, grab a Bible, or if you're more digitally inclined, you're watching online, you can go to forefrontchurch.info, swipe over a couple times till you get to the Notes tab. Click on that. Everything that we're going to be in is right there for you. And this has been my prayer for you and I, that we would live this out as a heartbeat of worship, what our life would be like day in and day out, not just when we quote unquote are singing in worship, but all of our life, starting in verse 1. It is good to praise the Lord your God and make music to your name, O Most High, proclaiming your love in the morning and your faithfulness at night, to the music of the 10-string lyre and the melody of the harp, for you make me glad by your deeds, Lord, not by the type of worship songs we sing or what the church offers. God, we are glad because of who you are and what you've done. For you make me glad in singing of the Lord. I sing of joy of what your hands have done. How great are your works, Lord. How profound your thoughts. Senseless people do not know. Fools do not understand how good God is. That though the wicked spring up like grass, all evildoers flourish, they will be destroyed forever. Listen, if you want to lead a life that's just wicked and do all these things, you'll watch and you'll see people that will do this. But eventually, what we sow into life will come back before God. But you, Lord, are forever exalted. For surely your enemies, Lord, surely your enemies will perish. Evildoers will be scattered. You have exalted my horn like that of a wild ox. And as it looks at this, it's talking about this imagery, and what would happen during that culture is they would see the oxen grow their horns longer and longer. They're using this word picture to describe God as you put strength into them. God, you have strengthened me. Fine oils have been poured on me. My eyes have seen the defeat of my adversaries. Ears have heard the rout of my wicked foes. The righteous will flourish like a palm tree. They will grow like the cedar of Lebanon, planted in the house of the Lord. They will flourish in the courts of God. They will still bear fruit in old age. If you've ever made the excuse, I am age blah, 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 and so I cannot do. I'm not going to insert an age there because everybody's going to size it up. But I hear people say, I'm too old to work with students. I'm too old to get down on the floor with kids. I'm too old to whatever. Last week I shared about Ben Merrill, who's 91, who's still teaching at a church, has in his life impacted thousands of people. If you're still heart beating in and out, you still have a pulse, God's not done with you. They will stay fresh and green, proclaiming the Lord is upright. He is my rock. There is no wickedness in him. But here's what happens. We have expectations, and God, because we have expectations that are unrealistic, I've been derailing my life for 10, 15, 30, 40 years. I'm going to walk in, and God's going to just wipe everything clean. God goes, yes, I love you. Yes, my son paid a price for you, but it's going to take longer in your life to watch that unfold, to watch that happen. It's the sanctification process that takes time. And we go, see, that's why I'm not going to worship you. And I read this book a while back by this guy that's phenomenal. Are there any dads with young daughters in the house? Hear it? So raise your hand right there. All right, I'm going to throw you this. I'll say it. It's a book called, and I saw this, it came out under a different title, and then now it's called So Long Insecurity, You've Been a Bad Friend to Us by Beth Moore. She's a phenomenal speaker and writer, and I wanted to know because, guys, let's face it, if you think you know everything about women, stop, apologize, and let you know you don't. You okay? And the longer I've been married and the more that I have daughters, I realize, not in a bad way, that I am still learning and trying to understand, but the older I get and the longer I'm at this, the more that I know I do not understand. And I need to gain guidance. And in this book, it's written from Beth Moore, a woman to women, but it's phenomenal, and I think it gives us great advice on what it means to worship even in the face when things are difficult. How will we respond? And she puts it this way. It says, only you can decide how your fires will affect you. The hurt, the shame, the pain, someone's wounded you, someone's wronged you, something's happened. You go, see, God, I would worship you, but I had high expectations, and they felt it. How many times I've heard people say, I would go to church, but, and they insert a bad experience with church, with Christians, with the media, and everything else. I would go to church, but Christians are what? Christians are hypocrites. Christians are judgmental. Christians are this. And they go, cool. And I've unpacked this with plenty of people. We can't base that off of a larger number of people who are doing amazing things. And so if those wounds have happened to you, will you be sanctified or scarred? Because only you can decide what you want to do with that. You can either say, God, I want to give it to you because I don't get it, but I know you do. I know that you care about me. Or you could just say, you know what? I'm just going to be bitter. I'm just going to be angry. And I get it because I've been there. But that is not how God wants us to operate. And I love her encouragement. And this is what happens on the flip side if your soul's healthy. When our souls are healthy, we change moments. The moments don't change us. We don't walk into a storm of life. We don't walk into these pieces and go, oh my gosh, and completely fall apart. If you show me someone who is really strong in their life, even in the midst of hardship, I'll show you somebody that prays regularly, that reads the Bible even when they don't want to. I have moments where I wake up in the morning and I go, man, I really just want to go back to bed. And God goes, I know, but I just don't care. You have committed to honoring me and to connecting with me, and so you're going to start your day with me. And so there are mornings where I wake up where I'm not feeling it, where I still get up and I read my Bible. And I open it up and say, God, I'm going to pray to you. God, I'm going to connect with you. You show me somebody who is doing that in their life, who is engaging faith, who doesn't just show up, sporadically when it comes to community and faith, but is saying, you know what, I'm going to make a commitment for that. And don't tell me you're too busy, because you have the same 24 hours that everybody else does. We make time for what we value. And so if you don't make time for God, don't say, I'm just too busy. Be honest. And this isn't a slide, you say, I have not made time for God because I've chosen not to make time for my faith. But you show me somebody's souls who are healthy, the moments don't change them, they change the moments. And I've heard it said, and I forget who said it at first, but that big doors swing on very small hinges. And there's life-altering moments that happen in your life and in mine, and you know how they don't just fall off the doorway? It's by the little things that hold them intact day in and day out. You want to watch somebody who they just don't come unglued in their life, and it's because of their prayer life, because they're pouring into others, because they're reading their Bible, because they're just really engaging their faith. But the pushback on that is this. They say, you know what? The moments hurt, Jason, and I don't want to worship. I just want to wallow. Now, it's time for an honesty check. And you guys who are watching online, you can hand emoji in. You guys who are here, be honest. Have you ever just gone through a moment and you've kind of sat and had, and I'll raise my hand first, a little pity party? Anybody ever had a pity party for yourself? Yeah, like quite a few of you, and I'm sure you guys online are the same way. We go through something and we're like, I don't want to worship God, I'm just kind of mad right now. And then we passive aggressively will post online. We won't even really post. You'll go to the feeling section and feeling sad. And then everybody will chime in, what's wrong, baby? What's going on? Are you okay? And then we have to jump in. Why? Because we're baiting people in that. Somebody will see, hey, how you doing? I'm okay. And we'll look back. Why? Because we want them to ask so we can let them know, my life is horrible, everything's bad, whatever. And I get it. I get it. We've all had a moment where we just wanted to wallow. And I understand it. But that's not where God calls us to be. When God made you and I, he said, you are unique, you are amazing, you are beautiful, and I have more in store for you. And I know you want to wallow and you want to have a pity party, and you're going to post that post on social media and have everybody commiserate with you. And it'll feel so the same way. Even if everybody chimes in, at the end of it all, the next day will come, there'll be more cat memes and more LeBron James just throwing away the game and, whatever memes. Sorry. And all those things will happen, and you'll still be in the same spot you were before. And so how do we change the dynamic? Well, I think that we have to refocus what is true about a life of worship so that when the expectations are higher, when the expectations are low, and then it doesn't hit in the way that we thought, that we could still honor God and worship him. And so my prayer for the last couple months is that you and I would get this. A life of worship leans courageously on God. And I hear people say this all the time. Oh, man, from my atheist friends, agnostic friends, they go, oh, you follow Jesus and that religion thing's good for you. But people just use religion as a crutch. I'll tell you, some of the most strong and courageous individuals are the ones that I've met who put God at the very core of their life. That lean courageously on God. That moments of brokenness don't leave you bitter, don't leave us bitter, but build us to get better. That build us to a place where we go, God, I want to worship you. When things are great, when things aren't great, remain the same. Because this life is going to hand you things, whether you follow God or you don't, that are going to be difficult. There will be people who claim faith who do despicable things, and there'll be people who don't claim faith who do despicable things, and vice versa. People that don't claim faith who have an awesome life, people who claim faith who have an awesome life, and you just go, God, why? We live in a broken world where broken things happen and things don't always make sense because sin is in our world. But we can't make excuses. And there's some things that happen. God, I'm not going to make excuses because of God. God, you didn't do this. I wanted things way up here and they landed down here. Others, schedule like we talked about before. Oh, I would engage my faith, but I'm just too busy. Yeah. And I have us say this out loud because I want to rearrange our culture. Number one thing that I get asked, hey, I really want to talk to you or meet up, or hey, I really want to do whatever. And the next sentence is, but I know you're really busy. And I correct people. I'm like, no, I'm not. They're like, but you have a wife, you have 3 kids. I was like, but I also have a church that I'm able to pastor, and we have a great staff. And so we're not busy. Let's rearrange that. And we usually say that more projecting out of our own busyness, and we project that onto other people. And schedule, blame it on the church. The church did this, the church didn't do that. I'm going to fail you. Our staff's going to fail you. Our worship band is going to strike a wrong chord. You'll be like, I came ready to hear that song, and they hit the wrong chord, and it ruined my morning. Well, it shouldn't, because the worship isn't about you, it's about God. But anyway, and so they could hit every wrong chord, and would you still worship God? If I failed you every other day, would you still worship God? That you're going to, church, failures, wounds, mistakes, bitterness, unresolved conflict, we can't blame it on that. But here's the temptation personally, is that we have a total disaster happen in our life, and we go, I can't worship. I can't go to church. I hear this a lot. I can't go to church because, God, I've failed too much. And I want to encourage you that what feels like a total disaster could be a triumph when you understand God's grace. I went through a season of life. That's what Christians call a time in life. They call it a season. There's sometimes when Christians use stuff, oh, it's just a season. You'll get through it. And it's weird. Christians are weird. And so if you've ever thought that, I agree with you. And so I went through this time in my life where I wasn't connecting, having as much time in my quiet time with God, where I would wake up in the morning and study. It just got shorter and shorter and shorter. And it really, and I don't know why it was happening, but I started feeling guilt If you've ever had that, I know we have a lot of people who come from denominational backgrounds, even from a Catholic background, and this is their words, not mine. They're like, I'm a recovering Catholic. And I go, why is that? They go, I just felt like when I went, all I felt was guilt instead of freedom. And honestly, when I was going through that time in my life, I felt a lot of guilt. And so one morning, night, I set the alarm. I'm like, God, I'm going to get up. I'm going to do it. Set the alarm, and I got up, and I'm creeping. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning. And I started creeping by, and I'm walking by my daughter Roxy's room, and I hear, Daddy. And I'm like, ugh. She's like, what are you doing? And what I wanted to tell her was that I'm just going downstairs to work out. And I was going to work out and do Bible study because I knew as soon as I said anything about it, she'd want to jump in. And if you have kids, the moment that you want to do something and they jump in, it may not end up being the way let me rephrase that. It will never end up being the way that you wanted. And so I was like, baby, but I told her, I was like, I'm going to work out, I'm going to read my Bible. And she jumped up out of her bed, grabbed her Bible, and said, I want to go read the Bible with you. And I'm like, and I felt bad because I'm like, baby, I haven't even wanted to get up and really read my Bible. And now you want to, and there's all this guilt. I'm like, all right, come on. She's going to find out I'm a fraud and a failure. And so we sit down and we start reading the Bible. And what this guilty moment, this moment where I felt like a total disaster, you know what it turned into? Is now, and we read the Bible with our girls in the evenings and connect with them and lead them to Jesus. But it started now on Tuesday nights where now all three of us, it was normally separately, now all three of the girls and I, we go over these passages and we go over these verses. And there's an app that we use. I don't have the card here. You parents get it when you pick up your kids. And it's at the Get Connected table. It's the Parent Q app. And we go over the verses today when we're memorizing Scripture together. You know what's great about that is this moment where I felt like a total disaster with God actually was a triumph because I understood that God wasn't after me with like this. People think he's a celestial curmudgeon just waiting, like just mess up, lightning bolt, just mess up, alternator breaks, like these things, like it just destroying stuff. It's like God is giving me grace. God is giving me hope. And what it ended up turning into, using that app and seeing the verses that they were going to, we're memorizing Scripture. And so now, when they start getting angry, I'll go, hey, what does James 1:19 say? And I'll have my oldest daughter go, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because that does not produce the righteousness of God. And she may say it begrudgingly, but you know what my daughter knows? That God wants her to be quick to listen and not to become angry. And what's fostered is a different culture because I decided to get past myself and those expectations that God, I don't make it, and then a triumph birthed out of what I thought was a terrible failure. And if you've sat in these moments where you go, God, I'm just not measuring up. I can't do this. There's other people that can do it, but they're amazing. I just can't. I want to encourage you what worship truly is, and it can happen in your life. That can give you hope and can push you forward. And the first thing I want to encourage you with is that worship is more than singing. I have people that go, man, I love coming to Forefront. I love the worship. And I love it. Like, it's great. I would prefer more acoustic stuff, but good news is it's not about me. And so, like, if you've ever come, you're like, actually, I'd love a choir. Cool. It's not about you. I would love if they had drums, just on a thing and spinning with fire and pyro. And I'd be like, that would be wicked awesome. But again, it's not about you. That worship in this moment, while I love singing, there's so much more to it than that. And that psalm talks about how do we root ourselves in that? The righteous flourish like a palm tree, grow like a cedar, planted in the house of the Lord. In all those things, how great are your works? It talks about how good God is. Our worship points back to God, not to ourselves. The writer Paul in Romans shares that we are to be a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. That every part of our life should be something that points back to Him. And it's not just about singing. You can sing those songs. I hear people say, oh, the worship moved me. Well, I'm always a little fearful of that because what if next week, because that's a feeling, God wants you and I to be faithful. What if the next week they don't play songs you like? What if the band gets up here and they're like, I've watched people leave because they're like, the worship didn't move me. I'm like, it wasn't about moving you, it's about moving us to God. And they go, I'm just going to have to go find a church that really just hits my heart. And I'm like, I hope you go find a church that aims your heart to God and doesn't aim the worship to you. Because if our hearts are about worshiping to make sure that we feel something, that we have missed the very heartbeat of what it means to follow Jesus. Which is why we have to get to the second piece of worship. That worship involves consistent, intentional action of the heart and of the hands. That God, my heart is about you, and I am going to show that by my actions. That's why I love in that passage in Psalm, it says, still bear fruit in old age. If you're asking what old age is, just ask a friend, because I'm not going to put a number on that. Stay fresh and green. I meet people who have been at Faith a while, and they feel like they got their ticket, and they just sit and take up space. I go, man, you have so much to offer. Well, who can I offer? Whatever. In my small group this last year, I have so many young couples that were getting married or, that had just been married. I go, man, they could use somebody in faith who's older than them who could guide them. What could I do? You could help them not do really dumb things. And I know that all of those young couples that go, we got it together. And I look at them like, no, you don't. And it's not being mean. I'm like, you need somebody that's older than you to come alongside you. And I love this points to our worship is intentional. The writer in 1 Corinthians, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all to the glory of God. And I love this example. There's a gal in our children's ministry. Her name's Belinda. And Belinda just finished school, going through college, and just had a baby. And so before you start mounting any excuses, go to school while you're preggo, and then also graduate well, do well, and then Becky, our family ministry director, she calls her up and says, hey, I know you just had that baby, and so I expect you to take some time away from the kids. She said, oh, no, I'm going to be with my kids. She's like, no, you don't need to. And our adult leaders are getting down on the carpet, sitting while they have a herd of kids around them. It's like Lord of the Flies. And she's like, no. I know I just had a baby, but I need to get back with, and not just my kids. So what'd she do? It was just weeks after she had the baby, and she is on the carpet with kids, bringing her new baby. I meet people who are like, man, yesterday I was beaching it all day. Sun was really heavy. I don't know if I can make it to church. I meet people who just go, man, we cleaned out the garage all day. My back's really sore. The Lord needs to give me a day of rest. And so I'm just going to sit and I'm going to do whatever. And I go, Belinda just went through college and had a baby. And she's on a carpet, and my daughters love her. And she didn't make excuses. We were giving her an out. She's like, oh, no. I'm going to be down on the carpet with those kids. Why are you going to do that? Because I love Jesus, and I want to be intentional with my heart and my hands. And I'm not just going to sit and take up space. I'm going to give my life away. Because worship's more than singing. It's an intentional action where we go, you know what? I am not going to sit and consume God. I am going to be one who goes out and helps others. And that's going to happen outside the church, but God, you also call me to do that inside the church. And so God, I'm going to say, use me however you need to. If I'm going to college, even if I just had a baby, I'm going to get on a carpet with kids. And I meet people who use the excuse, well, I'm just praying for the Lord to direct me where I need to go. He said, you already need to serve people. Well, I just need some clarity on that. I was like, no, he's pretty clear. Just go serve people. But I just really need to. I meet too many Christians who, under the guise of prayer, use it to not take action. You're not going to mess up loving people. You might be a little weird. You might be a little awkward. You're going to fit in great here. All right? We're all a little weird and awkward. But loving on people isn't one of those things you go, I'm just going to pray a little bit longer. No, God said love people. I already told you there. Now you know. Go love people. How do I do that? Talk to us. Let's get you serving. Well, I don't know if I'm qualified to serve. Man, there are people doing all kinds of stuff. But God calls you to give your faith away. How are you doing that? Because that's an act of worship. And here's the strongest and most difficult one, is that worship doesn't waver in moments of hurt. Now, I can say this watching my wife as she lost her mom. My wife never once stopped worshiping God. I can say this, unfortunately, that when we lost our first daughter, there were moments where I didn't worship God. Yeah, I talked to him, but it was more yelling than anything else. But I wavered in my moments of doing this, and I've had seasons where it's been difficult for me. But when you are locked in with God, your worship will not waver in the moments of hurt. Love the way this psalm puts it. Proclaiming your love in the morning and your faithfulness at night. God, all day long. Even imagine any day. Just pick a day from your week last week. And you're like, wow, you pick the worst day. I'm going to talk about your love in the morning, God, and your faithfulness at night. What's probably the last thing you did on the day that was hard in the last few weeks? You didn't go home and go, God, you're so faithful. I'm so thankful that Nancy at work is just a total train wreck and ruined my day, gave me more work to do. And when I went to go pick up the kids from daycare, that teacher, it was so great of her to feed them full of sugar before I took them home, and now they're a mess. And you do that, and then you end the day, you're like, God, I am thankful for you. No, you were probably like, God, I'm a little frustrated, I'm going to bed. And you went to bed. Or maybe you didn't even pray at all. You didn't even talk. Faithful day in and day out. God, and we talked about before, this strength. You've given me this strength like the horn of a wild ox. It continues to grow and move. God, you are good. And I meet people who don't come to church because it reminds them of whatever pain's going on. They go, I can't go. It reminds me of the pain. Or they go, I can't go because I'm not good enough. And I want to encourage you that worship isn't a place to forget your circumstances. It's a place to bring them. This is a place where you go, man, are you a train wreck? Come on. I can't fathom when I meet people of faith. We have people all the time who pull up here in the parking lot and then they leave. Or they'll walk in. We even had somebody today that they pulled up and they sat in. They heard the band that was playing the Smashing Pumpkins song and they left. I don't know why they left, but I watch enough people walk out that I go, oh, we played a secular song and they are not happy with that. We're in a series, I Love the 90s. If they had stayed long enough, they would have heard like, yeah, we're actually talking about Psalms 90 through 99. Oh, that was a good tie-in. Why? Because we want to be able to meet people, whether they claim faith or they don't, knowing that, but we don't want to have any obstacles in place. But we have all these things that we go, this is my stuff, and so I can't worship because of that. This is a place to bring all of it. If you're messed up, you're at home. If you're broken, you're at home. If you're bitter, this is home. If you've been wounded by God, because you said, and I'll tell you, God didn't wound you, but you've said God's the one who wounded you, fine. You'll eventually learn that's not the case. You've been wounded by a church, and they're human. You've been wounded by Christians, I get it. This is a place to bring your truckload of stuff back up the U-Haul and dump it out. God's big enough to handle it. You know what you could do to cultivate a life of worship? Keep showing up. God hasn't stopped showing up in your life, even though you think that maybe he has. Keep showing up. God will blow the doors off of any expectation that you may have over time when you worship him with every part of who you are. If you give him the chance to do the miraculous, he will. But don't wander in one Sunday thinking he's going to do it in 1 week and undo 10, 15, 30 years of what you did, what I did. It takes time. But God is always faithful and he is never late. And he'll do exactly what he needs to do in your life. And that's the kind of God that I want to worship. And that's the God that I hope you will choose to worship. Would you pray with me? Thanks for tuning in to the Forefront Church video podcast. Our hope and prayer is that this has left you encouraged and challenged you in your faith. And you might have some questions and some ways that you want to figure this out, and we want to help with that. Head over to forefrontchurch.info, and there's a couple different ways that you can connect. Click the Connect tab and let us know how we can be praying for you, or a staff member can be contacting you this week. Maybe you have just been encouraged by this and want to support the ministry here at Forefront Church. You can click the Giving tab, as well as other tabs that are in there to help you along in your journey with God. And so we're thankful for you. Thanks for tuning in. And we cannot wait to see you again here online on the video podcast. We love you, and we'll see you then.